Hi y'all, it's Kate, and I just got in a beautiful deck. It's the Tarocchi Fine Dalla Torre in Bologna. When I first saw this deck a few years ago on Sacred Seed L's site, I fell in love with it. I just wasn't reading any historical decks at the time. Didn't think about it, but the colors seem to be just totally 100% amazing in this deck. Another thing that I love is the paper. This paper is just dreamy. I'm going to do a quick walkthrough. This is actually the second edition. It came out in 2018. And it didn't have the wooden box. So if you get this, if you go into Arnel's website or the Museum of Tarot from Italy, they're no longer doing the wooden box, which is a shame, but I'm okay with that. That saved me some dollars that I didn't need to spend. Instead, you get this beautiful tuck box right here. And very easy to open. Inside, you'll get just a art card on the top, and then you get this handout, and on the English side, let me see if I can get that in frame. It looks like this. So it's the same one as before, but it just indicates that this is actually the second edition, and they made only 500 copies of this. The original one, they did 200 copies, so if you're lucky enough to have the original 200, the only difference between this edition and the previous edition is that the previous edition had the wooden box. This doesn't. And this is 55 of 500. And the box is the card stock is just totally amazing. And as you can see, this is the information on the card. Love these backs. And it actually goes into what the back of the card is all about. Let's see if I can get that. Yeah. On the back of the cards are two winged angels. One is the classic Cupid with a bow and arrow, while the other points to a large tree with a heart hanging like fruit. This is probably a reference to the myth of Apollo and Daphne. Both struck arrows of Eros, but with opposite results. Apollo fell in love with Daphne, while she flatly refused his advances after a long chase through the woods. So as not to give into the passion of God of oracles, this nymph prayed for escape, and was thus transformed into the sweetly scented laurel plant, known as Daphne in Greek, and which consequently became the symbolic tribute to great poets in ancient Greece. Also, this deck was considered a Tarocchini in back in the 1600s in Bologna, where this deck comes from. And strangely enough, my father's family came from Bologna, so it was really kind of interesting that I connected with this deck so holistically, I have to say, because it's just amazing. I'm just going to go through some of the cards. You've probably seen a walkthrough of this deck plenty of times. But I wanted to go through these cards because they do have this Marseille style to them, but it's completely Italian. So if you've seen some of the other Italian decks, like the Vecchetta, which is the Tarot of the Master, and you see the ancient Italian tarot, and you see a lot of the same feel in the cards, same drawings, This is almost like a tribute to Marseille, but it's still completely Bologna. In the Bologna tradition back then, they would have cards 1 through 6 not in the deck. Was called a Tarocchi. And so when they went to reproduce this deck, they had to put them in so it's more in line with today's reading of the cards. So again, here's the back of the cards. So beautiful here. This is the magician. You can see that he's more of a street magician, and he has kids looking at what he's trying to figure out what he's doing. So this is in line with some of the other decks of the time, which is really cool. I really like this Popes, and as you notice on these cards, there's no names of the cards. I have a funny feeling that these numbers were written in much later, since they don't have the Roman numerals in them at all. And the colors are just totally amazing in this deck. It's just really lively and wonderful. And when you read up on this deck, you'll know that when they went to go restore the deck, they used they took this into the computer and took the lines and cleaned up the lines, and then they went in, they printed each one of them, and they did pastels, which makes this so much beautiful, so much cleaner. But look at this Empress. She's just gorgeous, just very beautiful. The Emperor is just a little bit older, a little bit wiser. And look at the stigmata on the Pope's hands. That means that he's deeply religious, deeply in tune to his spiritual connection. I actually quite like this. I normally don't like religious themes in tarot decks or Christian themes in tarot decks, but I do like this because this talks about a real deep spiritual belief. I rather like this Cupid, and the reason why the arrow's pointing directly at her, and she's like, I just really don't know about this. So it's kind of whimsical, and the pinks in this are just absolutely gorgeous. I love this Justice card. She's eyes wide open. She knows what she's doing. She has what she needs. She has the sword. She's ready to take act on that judgment, and her scales are not balanced, but that's okay. Sometimes the balance is not towards the person that's going before you. So I kind of really do like this a lot. Father Time is in this one, which is really cool. I like that instead of the Hermit. This is really beautiful. The Wheel of Fortune. Strength. Instead of her lion, she has the column, which is in a lot of Italian decks. And Les Pendus, Pendu. This is Death. I kind of like this a lot. Has a lot of color to it. It has a lot of flow through it. The curve of the blade goes around and around, and then you have these symbols in here. You have a lot of pinks in there, quite like that. This is Temperance, which I really kind of like. In fact, this is my card of the year. Love this, love this, love this. The Tower with pink coming out. Oh man, and it just everything's falling down. He's at the end. He's landed on someone else. All heck is breaking out, and things have changed. Everything's coming down around him. Just very nice. I like this Devil. I like this interplay here. And again, the moon card is just great. You have them talking about the stars. This is basically like a astronomer. You'll see in other decks where they have the tree and the astronomer underneath the moon, so I really quite like that. Like these. Judgment. I like this world. You know, I like this world card. It just really, you know, you have the Wheel of Fortune again. You have this staff, and you have everything in here. I like that. And of course, the reason why the Fool was not at the beginning, he's actually at 22 in this deck right here. I'm not going to go through all of the cups because they're basically just well done, drawn. They're just pipped. There's nothing there. But I want to go through these court cards because they're great. And on the feminine suits, or what they called feminine suits back then, they had in the page or the knave position, they would have a female. And I like this one because she's like really in a lot of power, and she's saying, "Ha, I have nothing more to give you. Seriously, you know, that's it. My emotions are here." I like the Knight. This is one of the ones that they had to redraw, which was really cool. And you have the King here. What I like about the reproduction of this is they didn't go back and make everything pristine and pure. They, for instance, they kind of left the muddiness of this cup, which is I actually do like. And here's the swords. No, I'm sorry, the wands. And here's the page. Again, this is a rather young page. Knight of Wands. Queen of Wands. King of Wands. He kind of looks, to tell you the truth, a lot of the people in this deck look very feminine or very delicate. And this is one of the kings where, is it really a king or is it a female? Is it a male king or female king? Don't know. Here's the cups, and again in this one you will have a female page. Quite like her. I like this Knight of Pentacles, Queen of Pentacles. She's really strong. And this King again. This right in here isn't really crystal clear, but everything else is really nicely done. Nicely done. And this is the swords. Again, I like the fact that this is like your eye draws you right around. Again, this is another feminine looking king. This is the queen and this is the king. In fact, he looks younger than her. So I'm just wondering if they're going through to the kind of Crowley. Did Crowley get this inspiration where the king might not be in the position of power? Don't know about that. So this is the deck. I am enjoying it. I've fangirled about this deck all night on my Instagram page and several of the Facebook sites. And one of the things that I love about this deck is that it really shuffles quite beautifully. The feel on this is just amazing, and it reminds me a lot of the LeConte Tarocchi, and this is just a little bit bigger. Let me see. I'll get a card out for you to show you the size difference. This is the LeConte Tarocchi, so it's a lot bigger than that, but I can't tell you which cardstock I like better. This is a little thicker, of course, but this is just as yummy as the LeConte Tarocchi. And if you can pick one of these decks up, you need to pick it up. It's beautiful. I haven't been able to stop playing with it all night, so I will leave you here so I can go play with the deck. Have a great night.